A river can carve through solid rock, not because it is stronger than the rock, but because it remains steady. Day after day, year after year, it keeps flowing while everything around it changes. Human beings often admire strength in its loudest forms, yet some of the most powerful forces in life operate quietly. Emotional control works the same way. We live in a world that constantly tries to provoke reactions. News headlines compete for outrage. Social media rewards impulsive responses. Arguments spread faster than understanding. Everywhere you look, people are encouraged to react immediately rather than think carefully. The problem is that every reaction has a cost. Sometimes the cost is small. Other times it is enormous. One angry text message can damage trust. One emotional decision can create consequences that last for years. One moment of losing control can undo months of progress. Yet many people never stop to examine this pattern. They assume their emotions simply happen to them. They treat anger, frustration, jealousy, or fear as forces that cannot be managed. As a result, they spend years being controlled by feelings they never learned to understand. What if the greatest advantage in life is not intelligence, talent, wealth, or luck? What if one of the most valuable abilities is simply remaining composed when everyone else is losing control? That idea may sound simple, but its impact is enormous. Emotional control affects every area of life. It shapes decisions, relationships, opportunities, reputation, confidence, and even long-term happiness. Consider how often people regret things they said during moments of anger. Very few people look back and wish they had been more impatient, more impulsive, or more reactive. Most regrets are born from actions taken before emotions had a chance to settle. This is where emotional control becomes powerful. It creates a space between feeling and acting. In that space, wisdom has an opportunity to speak. Modern psychology tells us that the brain often responds emotionally before it responds logically. This helped our ancestors survive threats, but in today's world, many situations trigger emotional alarms even when no real danger exists. A disagreement at work feels like an attack. Criticism feels like rejection. Delays feel like disasters. Small frustrations become larger than they need to be because emotions take over before perspective arrives. The challenge is not eliminating emotions. That would be impossible. The goal is learning how to experience them without surrendering control to them. There is a common misconception that emotionally controlled people do not feel deeply. The opposite is often true. They feel disappointment. They feel anger. They feel stress. The difference is that they refuse to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Imagine driving through a thick fog. If you panic, you are more likely to make a dangerous mistake. If you stay calm, your chances of navigating safely increase dramatically. Difficult emotions create a similar kind of fog. Anger narrows perspective. Fear exaggerates risks. Jealousy distorts reality. Anxiety predicts problems that may never happen. When emotions dominate, clear thinking becomes difficult. This is why some of the greatest thinkers throughout history placed enormous value on self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about maintaining inner stability despite external chaos. He understood that life becomes easier when circumstances stop controlling your state of mind. His world was filled with wars, political pressure, betrayal, and uncertainty. Yet his writings repeatedly returned to the same idea: focus on what you can control and accept what you cannot. That lesson remains relevant today because modern stress often comes from fighting realities we cannot immediately change. People waste tremendous energy resisting situations that have already happened. Emotional control begins when acceptance enters the picture. Acceptance does not mean approval. It simply means recognizing reality before deciding how to respond to it. Think about how much suffering comes from arguing with reality. A mistake happens, and instead of addressing it, someone spends hours wishing it had not happened. A disappointment arrives, and they become trapped in frustration rather than focusing on solutions. The emotionally strong person takes a different approach. Their first question is not, "Why is this happening to me?" Their first question is, "What is the best response available right now?" That shift may seem small, but it changes everything. It moves attention away from helplessness and toward action. Another reason why emotional control is a superpower is because it makes you difficult to manipulate. People can only push your buttons if they know where those buttons are. Some individuals spend their lives reacting to every criticism, every insult, every negative opinion. As a result, they become predictable. Others quickly learn how to influence them. Meanwhile, someone who remains composed creates uncertainty. Their emotions are not easily hijacked. Their mood is not determined by every passing comment. They maintain ownership of their inner world. This does not mean becoming cold or detached. It means becoming intentional. There is a difference between feeling an emotion and becoming consumed by it. One practical way to strengthen emotional control is to become curious about your reactions. Instead of immediately responding, pause and ask yourself a question. Why am I feeling this so strongly? That simple question often reveals deeper truths. Sometimes anger hides embarrassment. Sometimes frustration hides fear. Sometimes jealousy reveals an unmet desire. Understanding the root emotion makes it easier to manage. Self-awareness acts like a flashlight. Once something is illuminated, it becomes much harder for it to control you unconsciously. Another valuable practice is learning to tolerate discomfort. Many emotional reactions occur because people desperately want unpleasant feelings to disappear immediately. They seek instant relief through arguments, impulsive decisions, emotional outbursts, or avoidance. Yet growth often requires sitting with discomfort long enough to understand it. The strongest individuals are not those who never experience discomfort. They are those who can remain steady while discomfort is present. This principle appears everywhere in life. Athletes endure physical discomfort to become stronger. Entrepreneurs tolerate uncertainty while building something meaningful. Great relationships survive difficult conversations because both people remain committed despite temporary discomfort. Emotional strength follows the same pattern. The ability to stay grounded during difficult moments gradually expands your resilience. Over time, something remarkable happens. Situations that once overwhelmed you begin losing their power. The criticism that once ruined your day becomes easier to handle. The setback that once felt devastating becomes manageable. You begin noticing that your peace is no longer as fragile as it used to be. It becomes less dependent on circumstances and more rooted in your ability to navigate those circumstances. This is one reason calm people often appear confident. Their confidence does not come from believing life will always go their way. It comes from trusting themselves to handle whatever comes their way. That kind of confidence cannot be purchased. It cannot be borrowed from others. It is built through repeated moments of self-control, patience, and deliberate responses. Little by little, you stop seeing emotions as enemies. Instead, they become signals, useful information. Messages that deserve attention but not unquestioned obedience. Eventually you reach a point where challenges still arrive, frustrations still appear, and difficult emotions still visit. The difference is that they no longer sit behind the steering wheel. You do. And perhaps that is the real superpower. Not the ability to avoid life's storms, but the ability to remain steady while moving through them. Because when you learn to govern your emotions instead of being governed by them, you gain something many people spend their entire lives searching for: true control over yourself. If this message resonated with you, share your biggest takeaway in the comments. Share the video with someone who could benefit from it, and subscribe for more life lessons and mindset content designed to help you grow stronger from the inside out. Until next time, keep it locked.